Today I'll be talking about Qoidahs in Eastern Geomancy. In Eastern Geomancy, there's what we call Qoidah, which in English we can simply call a method. A Qoidah simply means a way of answering a particular question. Taking for instance, when you say arithmetic, when you said addition, the word addition is like what if you want to bring two numbers together and you use the method of what addition, you already know what you will get. Now, if you want to bring two numbers together and you use multiplication, you know you will get it. If you have 2 and 5 together and use method of what addition, 2 and 5 will give us 7. You understand, but if you use the method of what multiplication, 2 and 5 will not give us 7. That is 2 times 5, that is 10. So that is the meaning of Qoidah. Qoidah is just like you're saying addition, a way of doing something. Let me just put it that way. That is what a Qoidah is. A method of achieving a purpose. That is what a Qoidah is. That is what we call Qoidah in Eastern Geomancy. In Eastern Geomancy. You know we have two major versions of what geomancy. We have the Western and we have the Eastern. The Eastern is the one popularly known as what Arabic geomancy. But let's use the proper word for calling it. The proper word for it is what Eastern geomancy. And that is what a Qoidah is. Now, what I want to say about this Qoidah of a 10 is this. Qoidah can be similar, can be closely related to each other, yet might not perform the same function. Let me make this more understandable. Taking for instance now, in Eastern Geomancy, there is a method of answering this question. How do you know if there will be happiness in the relationship? These two people that want to come together, how do we know that the happiness will reign in their coming togetherness or their relationship? Now, there's a Qoidah for it, a method of answering that. Now, in Now look at that question. How will there be happiness in the relationship? That is the question. Now look at this question again. Would there be harmony in the relationship? If you look closely well, the two questions look very, very, very close, sound alike. In fact, if you are not careful, you think they mean the same thing. Would there be happiness in relationship? Would there be harmony? If you are not careful, you will interpret the same to mean the same thing. You understand? Whereas there are two different things. So if you are using the method for would there be happiness in relationship, you are not using the method for that. You are using it for would there be harmony. And now say yeah, that means you are answering something different entirely. Or let me make this question clear because you might be feeling like or be thinking that what is the difference between happiness and harmony? You now begins to check your dictionary. No, dictionary may not be able to dictionary might give you an idea, but that may not be able to give you the intuitive meaning or the deeper meaning or the definition meaning. Now, let me put it that way. The dictionary might not give you the definition meaning of what the two difference, but can only give you the literal meaning, which just like I said, if you look at it literally, you would think that both words mean the same thing. But divinationally, or by divine guidance, the two words are not the same. Because happiness is talking about from a divination perspective. I was talking about with the head, and I said I want to differentiate the two beyond literal meaning. Now I want to differentiate that if you look at the dictionary meaning, that will give you the literal meaning, which will make the two look the same. But when you go to the word, the divination aspect of it is different. Taking for instance, now what would this statement means that would there be harmony in the relationship from divinational perspective? It means that these people that you are consulting about, person A and person B who are partner or who want to get into relationship, would there be harmony in them? Would there be harmony? That harmony in that sense is talking about that whenever these people, maybe there is a fight between them, when there is a quarrel between them, would they easily come together and settle the fight, settle the quarrel? That is what that Qoidah will be answering. That would there be harmony in this person? It means that there will be when there is fight. Is this something that they can easily resolve by themselves, or is this something that they will need to call third party, or they will need to call all the people around them to come and help them settle the case? Is that the way they will be settling their problem? Is that the way they will be settle the challenges in their relationship? But if it said there will be harmony, it means that well, the two people will be fighting. Another person beside them might not know they are fighting. That is what the war. Will there be harmony? But will there be happiness? Can you see that it is not different? It may be something enjoyable, something good, blah blah blah, like that. Can you see the difference? So I just wanted to make you understand that well, sometimes there is a difference between a divinational meaning of a thing and the literal or dictionary meaning to a thing. So I hope that is clear. Now, the point I'm trying to make in this video is not that particular harmony or something. I just want to lay emphasis on the fact that well, in geomancy, there is Qoidah, and Qoidah, if they are not carefully used, you might be using wrong method for something different. You might be using a method for solving a particular question, and you'll be getting it wrong. But the funniest things about geomancy is this: you might be using a particular Qoidah which is wrong, and to always give you right answer. You are using a wrong answer to arrive at what right answer. It usually happen. Now, what usually cause that thing is this: individual person, the geomancer, has what we call Rwania. If you have trained your Rwania to be a good something, you don't even engage yourself in all these illegal something or bad things, or your moral standard. Should I call it moral standard? Because the word moral from definition perspective is different from what morality in terms of all these good or bad. It's deeper. So I don't want to use the word morality because I will need to differentiate that before I will be able to move on for me to say another thing. So don't let me use the word morality. But the most important thing is that your virtues will be different. So if you have high standard of virtues, even if you are using wrong Qoidah, you could still be getting it right. Even if you are using wrong Qoidah for wrong answer, once in a while what you will be saying will be getting it wrong. Even if you have high virtues, even if your moral standard is highly something, you know that you are using a wrong Qoidah once in a while, you'll be getting it wrong. Do you understand? But when you know the science of the whole something, you know geometry very well, either you have a good moral standard or you have a good virtue, it doesn't matter. Except when God only wants to show that, well, I know more than what you know. It's only when God. But regardless of that, you have this thing, either you believe in anything that you believe in, if you know the truth something, this thing will always be there. But we sometimes need the intervention of maybe God or something, or spiritual or something, because sometimes you think the Qoidah you are using is right, whereas it is wrong. So God will then be your supporter in that sense, or your moral, your virtues, this thing will then. But once you know the truth something, either you have a good virtues or not, what will be will be. That's the way some people will tell you that science, this thing is just a pure science. Do you understand? That's because whatever they want to do, let me even tell you, there are some. Don't let me go there. So I'm just trying to make you understand. Well, there's what we call Qoidahs in Eastern geomancy, and Qoidahs are sometimes you need to narrow the Qoidah down in order to narrow the question down to extend that you will know that this is. There are some time. Let me to the extent that you will know that this is the Qoidah meant for these particular questions. Let me tell you one crazy things about Qoidahs in geomancy is this: in Eastern geomancy, on one question, there could be different Qoidahs on that question. Unlike the one I said earlier, like two different questions, yet with different Qoidahs, but the questions sound alike. That was what I explained earlier about harmony and happiness. Now, what I'm saying now, or I'm about to say now, is that Qoidah itself, we have different Qoidahs on one just question that is not about similar or not similar. Let me give an example to make this talk more clear. Let's say happiness. You want to determine would there be happiness in relationship? You might have about 4, 5, or 6 Qoidah just on that question. Not that you're having happiness. No, just that single question. You might have. So you might have, because each scholars have different Qoidah for the same question. Now the question now is this: you see those 4 Qoidahs for one same question. If, let's say, how do I put it? Let's say you are just come across a book and you're not reading about Qoidah for doing this or that. And you already have a particular Qoidah already. So, and you are not using the two together. You will find that sometimes, once in a while, one Qoidah will be right, and maybe use another new Qoidah for. I'm looking for a way to better explain it. Let's say you are asking about will there be happiness in relationship. You then have four Qoidah. Study geometry very well, Eastern geometry. You know that well in Eastern geometry on a particular question we may have about 4 or 5 Qoidahs on it. But you have not been introduced to Eastern geometry. You may not understand what I'm trying to say, and that is why I'm finding a means or a better way to express myself in a way that even you will understand it. You understand? But at the beginning, you have learned, you started geometry, we started from scratch. You started geometry from scratch. You before you get into this extent that I'm talking about, you are already so let me just hope you will get it. You understand? Now, on a particular question, there are 4 Qoidahs. Now, oftentimes some geomaster, they will use one Qoidah today, and for that same question. If another query comes with question, they will use another Qoidah for that same question. Let's say query one, query A come ask, would there be happiness in my relationship? That particular geomaster use a particular Qoidah for that person. Another query B, another person come again. That same geomaster may not use that method again, may not use that Qoidah again, use another method. And that one too will work. But once in a while, that geometer will use a particular Qoidah for that same question. When another person come, he use that same Qoidah again, and it will not meet it. It will not be correct. Why? Because the 4 different Qoidahs that this particular geometer has, the person did not know the difference between all of the 4 of them. The person did not know the difference between 4 of them or 5 of them, depending on how many you have. There are a lot of Qoidah. So, but that means if you have 4 Qoidahs or you have 5 Qoidahs on a particular question, just know that there's at least a difference between them. There are special cases to which that Qoidah can perform well. There are special cases where that particular Qoidah might not perform well. So for the fact that you have used this particular Qoidah for a particular query, and another query comes for that same question, you are not using that particular Qoidah again, it might not work. But if you are such a person that you already know the difference between all of these Qoidah that you have, then you can be able to know when to use anyone. That is why you see some people, when they have many Qoidah, they will go back to their master. So look at this, help me check this particular Qoidah. Is it fitting for this particular question? Or is it the same with this particular this let's say a person has been given by a master that this is a method for answering this particular question. Maybe after reading some other book or some other work, something, the person now go and he comes across another Qoidahs for that same question. If that person goes to that same master that taught him, the master can either tell him that this particular Qoidah you are using can also work where why it's also possible for that particular master to say, this particular Qoidah cannot work for this one. Do you understand? And it's also possible for him to tell the student or that person that both of them can work the same way, but there's a little difference. So the whole point I'm trying to say, without making these things to be too long, I want to believe you will understand it much better, is that Qoidahs are not always the same, even if you are being told that they serve the same purpose. They serve the same, even though if you are being told. Now, one of my current students, he asked me that there's this particular Qoidah we did about how to know, maybe if somebody tells you something, you want to know if that thing is true, false, exaggerated, or something. You want to know that, is this what this person told me, is it true? Yes. So, and prior before the time my student asked me that question, we have done a Qoidah that has to do with how to know if something is true or false. And I emphasize in that lecture that this particular Qoidah I've given to you, there are other method of answering this particular question. That is, there are other method of answering if something is true, false, or no. But the difference is this. You might come, I didn't give him other method, I always told him one, but I told him what makes this particular one I gave him unique is the fact that this Qoidah can only be used on one condition. If what the person is asking about, what the querent is asking about, if the geomancer doesn't know anything about it, That is, the geomancer doesn't know. Let me give an example. Let's say I put a color, something. Let's say I put a color red in my hand, and geomancer and the person, why a query now comes to the geomancer now asks that, well, I hold color red in my hand. Confirm for me if it is yes or no. Yes, sir. And that geomancer, before casting the charge, he has seen that what that person truly brought hold in his hand is red. And geomancer is now casting that, well, is it true that this thing is thing that Qoidah will not work? It's only maybe when that person comes and say, well, what is in my hand is red. Is it true or not? And Geomancer did not have any means of knowing at all. There's no way you can know. Not that he has seen it before. That means Geomancer is being sincere to himself that he didn't know it. Then if he then use that particular code that I have given to him, it will work. But if prior before the person comes, let's say I sit by the window side and current is coming, he now hold something and I've seen it over the window side, and the current now comes to me. He's not asking me a question of what I have seen. I start asking maybe that thing is true or not. What I assume maybe something that I'm aware of it's truth. Something that I'm aware of it. You're not asking me. If that student use that particular code I've given him for that song, it will not be correct. Because that code isn't meant for what the geomancer is already known. What that geomancer can either do is just to dialogue with the person. Oh, I know it is blah blah. Dialogue. It isn't a case of divination. Even though if the geomancer want to use divination for it, you don't use that Qoidah. Now, likewise again, let me give an example. That was what brought this particular something. And the reason why I won't make it more public that there's this particular Qoidah of yes or no that people usually use to answer yes or no something. People often, during my own time, when I was learning Geomancy, during my own time, I complained to my master that, well, this particular Qoidah you gave me is not working. Yes or no something, there's a way. He said it is working. And I believe him. But me, I've tried, it doesn't work. But I believe him. He said it is working. That probably I'm using it for something wrong. So I just seal it. Because I know that my master knows why it is not working, but just want to tell me for something good, better knows to him. So I just kept quiet. But it was later I realized that, well, that Qoidah he gave us is only meant for something that person that is coming to you to ask the question has already have answer to it. Let me give an example. Let me use that same example I used that time. Somebody is calling me. That person hold red, something red. Me as a geomancer, I've seen it. I say in that Qoidah, I give that to that student. You should not bother to use something. You should not bother to use because I already know. But now that Qoidah that I just said I complained to my master is this. Let's say that person holds something red. But truly, he doesn't know that he's holding something red. Somebody just maybe I sit before you and I took something from the back. And I asked you, me too, I don't know what I picked from the back. And I said, oh yeah, Geomancer, tell me what is it. I said, oh yeah, this Geomancer, tell me what is in my hand. Truly, me as a querent, I don't know what is. I just pick it from my mind. That method of what I complete for my master, that method is taught can be used for that. Can you see the difference? So what am I trying to say in essence is that, well, if you don't know the uniqueness of a Qoidah, you might be getting it wrong. Each Qoidah you might have as many as possible. All of them has their own uniqueness. Just like as tasking, you have different times. You have tasking as in you have tasking. You have say geomancy tasking, or either you call it say geomancy tasking or you call it elaloro tasking. So and we have Basidao tasking. We have and so on and so forth. Each of these tasking has their unique purpose. Do you understand? So without making this too long, I hope you understand. Thank you very much for taking your time to listen from the beginnings to this end. Thank you very much. May God bless you.